French love us, don't they?
Boom, 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 boom. 4 men in a wormhole.
Hello and welcome to 4 Men in a Wormhole. I'm Stephen Gurovich, your ever-balding host, and joining me, as always, is Adam Leach.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello, Adam. Glad to have you on the show, as always. And Simon Cohen, hello.
Hello, Stephen. Hello, everyone. I'm also balding, by the way, if that helps me fit in.
Are you ever balding?
Yes.
I'm ever balding. And Tal Silverman, who has a beautiful head of hair.
Hello, gentlemen. You all right?
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
Hi, Tal.
Hello.
Hello. But thank you for joining us. And as always, we're going to talk all things science fiction, fantasy, superhero stuff. And we will bring out amazing experience, wisdom, intelligence, and stuff to bear upon the subject. Is that not right, gentlemen?
If we do, it will be the first time that we do, but we should strive for that.
That's what we strive for every week. And you'll know when we've hit it because that'll be our final episode. So let's move on as with the first segment, as we always do. Things that we have consumed, caught our attention, intrigued us in the world of science fiction, fantasy, and whatnot. Whatnot is often the thing that I think we spend most time focusing on. But anyway, Tal, I believe you want to discuss chaos.
So yes, I've got two things I want to discuss. One is a bookie wook, but this one is a filmy will. So this is Chaos Walking, which if people are watching on YouTube, you probably don't want to. You're better off listening to it because we're not much to look at. But I have got a wallpaper of Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley, who are the two protagonists of said film. I wish I could tell you who wrote the story or who directed it or any other useful information, but it's completely gone from my head, but I am a bit tired. But it is a good film. It's a good film. It's worth watching. It's on Netflix, I believe, or Amazon. See, I told you I didn't do my research. One of those two. Check it out.
What's it about? What's it about, Tal?
Right. Well, it's actually a really good concept. I say it's a really good concept. It's quite an unbelievable concept, but it's a clever concept nonetheless. Basically, Tom Holland lives on this planet where it appears that there are no women living at all. It's just men. And the men suffer from this condition whereby all the other men can hear the thoughts of whatever everyone else is thinking at any given time.
They're all just thinking about women, surely.
Well, yeah. But
I mean, that scenario is completely fine as long as the world is just full of blokes. I guess where it comes
yeah, and this is the thing, because Daisy Ridley is basically crashes on the planet, and
does she start thinking and talking about new concepts like folding clothes and putting shoes away where they should do and turning up the heating?
Cushions.
No,
cushions. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, she crashes. All of her astronauts, whatever they're called, in her little shuttle, because it's a shuttle ship that crashes, all die except her. She escapes, and then basically it turns out that she meets Tom Holland, and interesting enough, none of the men can hear any of her thoughts. And it turns out that essentially, I think this is a virus that only affects men, and essentially only the men have their thoughts can be read.
This is not science fiction. This is just surely men do not read women's thoughts.
Science fiction. There's a spaceship, and there's another spaceship that's supposed to be coming down to rescue her, and then the rest of it isn't very science fiction-y at all. But it's a really interesting idea, and it works really. It's actually just been very well done. Funny enough, the kids watched it, and my oldest, she has watched it about 5 times. She just watches it, as you know, like how kids watch films more than once. And it was one of these films that we sat down to watch together, and I thought, it's a good film. I can't imagine the kids getting particularly into it, especially considering they like stuff that's kind of serial based, like not cereal as in Weetabix, but cereal as in
serialized.
So they like Doctor Who, and they like Marvel, and they like things that they can kind of get their teeth stuck into, and kind of like, and there are a few standalone films, but even stuff like Harry Potter or whatever, there's always kind of like more to watch. And this was kind of a very standalone film. And my eldest, she's watched it about 5 times. So it must be a good film. I think it's a good film. It's definitely worth watching. It's worth checking out. They're good pair of actors. It's just a clever little concept, really.
Thank you for that. I think I'll dive into that at some point. But I'm also intrigued. I'm intrigued to hear about your little hamster.
Yeah, sorry. So one more book, and this is this was I have to thank my eldest for this, because it's a book that she read, that she found and she read and got, and she really enjoyed it, and she said I should read it. It's technically teen fiction, in the teen fiction section, but it's not particularly teeny. I think the only thing about it is that the main protagonist is a 12-year-old boy, so it's it's sort of written from his perspective. It's all written in the first person.
What's it called, Tom?
It's called Time Traveling with a Hamster by Ross Welford, and it's, I think, a really, really good book. I have to say, it's a really easy read, not because of its simplicity, but just because it's just well written, and it's a page turner. He deals with time. It's about time travel, obviously, but he deals with time paradoxes reasonably well, in the sense that he's created this construct whereby you can't go back to the same moment in time more than once. So in other words, you can't go back to a time where you might meet yourself. So he's got to go before his birth. Anyway, it turns out that essentially what happens is the main character's dad dies a few years previously, and before his dad dies, his dad was a scientist, and his dad essentially had invented this time machine. And on his 12th birthday, he gets instructions on how to find and use this time machine. And essentially, his sort of mission is to try and stop his dad. There's something that happens in his dad's childhood that causes his dad to die as an adult. So he's got to go back and change those course of events, essentially. And it's kind of quite haphazard. He obviously doesn't really know what he's doing. He doesn't really understand the science behind anything, but he kind of manages to get this thing working. It involves getting in a bathtub and a laptop. It's quite a weird time machine. The hamster hardly features.
We've had bathtub time machines before.
Yeah. So the hamster basically goes with him, and that's it. Essentially, it's in his pocket, and that's all you really know. But it's actually a really good book. It's really heartwarming. It's really well written. It's quite nostalgic as well, because it goes back to, I think, the 70s or 80s maybe, when his dad was a child. So it's kind of got quite little tastes of that within it. I would recommend it. It's really, really good read. It's actually, I think it's one of the better sci-fi books I've read in a long time, even though it's, like I said,
good. Thank you, Carl.
So, I was just going to say that I was reading a book about time travel in fiction, and saying that one of the main uses of time travel in sort of popular fiction is to meet your parents.
Yeah.
Even when we see it in Marvel, Stark goes back and sees his dad, and actually when it's Back to the Future, he goes back to see his parents. It's kind of quite a common kind of use of time travel.
He befriends his dad because he goes back to a time when he's more or less the same age as his dad.
Yeah,
so he kind of.
Well, that's very Back to the Future. That's very very Back to the Future.
But very good. It's very well done, and really interesting.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Like Tal, I've done absolutely no research, but one thing that caught my attention since the last episode is that someone somewhere, and you can Google it because I clearly haven't, has announced that they're going to make a full-size hologram of the Star Trek Enterprise. I see Simon has got pen in mouth and fingers moving, so he may be Googling. But I'm very excited about that, because obviously seeing a life-size Star Trek Enterprise would be tremendous. I mean,
this is a hologram of the exterior, or it's like a hologram where you walk around the interior.
No, the exterior. We don't have to. We don't. I think what you're describing is sci-fi.
Is it the holodeck? I mean, have they created the holodeck?
They haven't created a holodeck. So they're going to do a life-size exterior hologram of.
Oh, okay, right.
Of the Enterprise. And I'll be honest, I know this is geeky, but I'm not in the Royal Navy. I run a business, but I've always liked being like a captain of an aircraft carrier in my head, and I would love to be a captain of Star Trek Enterprise.
Saying that should be a shock to us. I mean, you're on a science fiction podcast talking
yes,
about...
and look at my background.
Yeah.
But
When you
it's
say
got me
hologram,
thinking.
do you mean like one of those framed pictures that you sort of walk around and?
No, I think it will be a proper like projected. You could walk around it hologram because
It'd be like a real working holodeck of the Enterprise, and believe it or not, it's being made by the Roddenberry Archive, the estate of Gene Roddenberry, are planning on building it.
You could already get holograms. You could walk around. Tal, those already exist, and indeed, I would imagine in the next 10 to 20 years, some form of phone calls will be replaced by similar stuff to what you see in sci-fi movies, where someone is in front of you.
Because I'm still expecting it to be like a magic eye picture where you stare at it.
Am I going to have to squint? Am I going to have to squint? That's what I want to know.
No, you won't need to squint, and that technology already exists. But anyway, it got me thinking. Which is your favorite Enterprise?
Oh,
Simon, I know you're a big Star Trek fan. What is your favorite Enterprise? Excuse me, YouTube viewers. I'm about to blow my nose.
Okay, blow your nose. I'm going to give you two answers.
Oh, I never gave you the option for two answers.
But I have to give you two answers.
Okay.
So because I'm going to start with Enterprise E, which is the one from the Next Generation movies, and only because
not all the movies,
not all the movies. I think not Generations, but from First Contact onwards. And First Contact was a brilliant movie. I love Star Trek First Contact, and the other I think two that it was used in weren't quite as good. But I just think it's a really cool looking ship, especially from the outside. But my other answer to the question is
that the same one that crashed into the ground?
No, that was the Enterprise D. That was the Enterprise D, Tal.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah,
but I haven't got to yet, Tal.
Yeah,
sorry,
just wait. Right, the other answer to the question is the interior of the Enterprise 1701, the original that was in Star Trek Discovery.
Because one thing about Star Trek Discovery that we may have actually all liked
was the bridge. The Enterprise bridge looked really, really cool. They'd kind of taken all the retro stuff and just made it bigger and cooler, and it was just very, very cool. So those are my two answers. The interior of the Discovery version of the NCC 1701 original, and the Enterprise E from the movies.
Tal, I think I know your answer. You like the Galaxy class, the Enterprise D from the Next Generation.
I did, only because I remember when I watched that film, that was the first time I got a real context of the scale of the dish in the ship when they separated the dish and dish crashed or what it was. It was like, you saw it in the mountains and hitting the ground, and it was like, then you suddenly realized that whole section, that whole piece where they had to separate them and get everyone into the dish and all that sort of stuff. You realize you got a real feel for the number of people involved on the ship and just the size of it all, really. So for me, that kind of
and a bit of Star Trek facts here. Obviously, that wasn't done with CGI. That was a real model landing in another model of fake trees. So they couldn't shoot that, I don't think, more than once. And I think you'll give it on YouTube, you can see the behind the scenes, because they had to crash it, and the whole thing was done really, really cleverly. But it's real, in effect, because no CGI on that. Adam, what's your? I know you're not so as big on Star Trek.
I don't have much to say on this, but so I was just kind of having a refresh and looking at it, and I did come to the conclusion that the Enterprise D, but that's just agreeing with Tal. It's quite boring, really.
You're allowed to agree with Tal. I mean, you often go with the majority.
I often go with them. So what is the majority here?
Oh, well, I haven't declared yet. I haven't declared yet. So
you could be the majority, though, Adam. You and I together.
Yeah. So create the majority. Yeah. What Tal said.
Oh, there you go. So I'm going to go with the one. I always get the numbers mixed up because I'm dyslexic. 1701.
The original.
No, the refit, which looked best not in the actual Star Trek movie, even though it was done for that. It looked best in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Both the ship, the uniforms, which I know you'll think is not the ship, but the whole aesthetic, and the inside of the ship, the whole thing looked good. It looked cramped because those ships were dramatically smaller than the Enterprise D and E. But it also had this really cool a fusion of the original 1960 ship, but with new nacelle cells on the side and other bits that would change, which were a bit more angular and not of its time. And I think that was my favorite Enterprise of all time. And I loved both the insides and the outsides. And ironically, it brings us back to our little debate when we were discussing Discovery back in the day, and I was complaining about how much of a detachment it was from technology that in theory came later, but I like the whole feel of that ship and the way it plays out in Star Trek 2 and 3, where it then becomes destroyed. So yeah, that's my favorite Enterprise. So there we go. We had a little discussion on Enterprise there, but I will be excited to see a full life replica. But Simon, you googled it. Which Enterprise are they doing? I imagine they're doing the original, just because.
They are doing. It just says a real life Starship Enterprise. It looks like the original from the original series. Yes. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and it's the outside of it, right?
No, you're going to be able to walk around it.
See? There you go.
They're obviously doing it with VR headsets.
Taking the mick out of me with
it's obviously a VR headset. It's like one of those VR headset games you can do.
But around the outside rather than around the inside.
No, outside and inside.
Because you can already go. You can already see. There's already a museum where you can go and walk around the original set of the original Enterprise.
Right, so the project aims to launch a fully immersive holographic installation that showcases a life-size recreation of the Starship Enterprise that's indistinguishable from reality.
Well, there you go.
Really?
There you go. So on that bombshell, Simon, let us move on.
Well, before we move on, is this where we should mention old James T. Kirk going to space? Just quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you want.
Were we supposed to do that or not?
We can. He went into the atmosphere. I don't know if he went into space. He went into the atmosphere.
Well done for going into the atmosphere anyway.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cute, isn't it?
Nice. He looks quite good for 90, I think. He looks good for 90, I have to say.
Yeah, well done him. I mean, he must feel good.
Good Jewish Canadian boy made it into space. So yes, we can mention it, and we have. So Simon, moving on. You went to see a musical.
Yeah, well, I've got two things to talk about, and in the case of both of them, I've gone back to the 1980s, back to my youth. I did go and see a musical, Back to the Future, the musical, which, if you haven't heard about it, is it's been running in the West End for literally just a month or so. It started in September. And if you are anywhere near London, you have to go and see it. If you like Back to the Future, and frankly, if you're listening to this podcast, you have to like Back to the Future. Otherwise, you can stop listening right now.
Entry criteria.
Yeah. Then you have to go and see this. It's the most fun night out. I went to see it with my wife and my two children. We all like Back to the Future, the movies, and we all love this musical. It was just an awful lot of fun. It's largely true to the story. It is a musical. There are songs. They've written music to in some ways enhance the story. And brilliant cast. You could close your eyes and think you're listening to Michael J. Fox play Marty McFly. Yeah, it's fantastic. Go, every one of you should go.
I'm conflicted though, Simon. I said this to you before.
Yes, because you don't like musicals.
because basically it's a combination of something I like the most in the world mixed with something I like least in the world. So Back to the Future up there with one of my favorite things. Musicals generally the worst thing. So I'm a bit torn whether going will be just a massive.
But there are things that you would still like it for, because firstly, it's not a musical where it's just singing the whole way through. I don't like those musicals at all. There's lots of dialogue. It's just broken up with songs. Some of those are songs that are already in the movie anyway, so you should be okay with those. And then there's some additional songs. But just to see the sets and the car, the special effects that they use to make the car look like it's going 88 miles an hour and driving around the streets of Hill Valley or whatever it's called, and just to hear them playing that music live, the band in front of you, literally the music starts and you're just smiling from the beginning. it's just wonderful. I promise you, go and see it. As long as you don't mind sitting in a room with 1,000 other people that you don't know, then as long as you don't mind that, then go and see it, because it's just loads of fun. It's really good. Should I move on? Any other questions on that?
No, you've sold it. You've sold it. So the other one is you want to talk about the universe.
Yes, well, in particular, Masters of the Universe, He-Man and Masters of the Universe. So, yeah, indeed. So, for maybe I should explain for our younger viewers that listeners that He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was a cartoon from our childhood, right? It was 1980s. Adam,
can I just say, yeah, one of my favourite cartoons.
One of your
mainly because the chief protagonist is called Adam. So that kind of just sold it for me, really.
It's just a great show, great memories watching that as a kid, and they have kind of rebooted it on Netflix, and when I say rebooted, it's they haven't started again, and they haven't tried to change it too much, but they're bringing the story forwards. They're taking it into in another direction, I guess. So they're taking these characters and where we left them, and then moving them somewhere else. And in this, it's sort of everything just sort of kicks off at the end of episode 1. And it's
because I've been watching it. One, the animation style is identical to the original, except now in 4K, and so super smooth and beautiful to look at, but the same style. Two, it's got all the same corner humor and the way the script's written, the way the lines are delivered are, well, it is literally like you're continuing off from where, but the storylines are clearly more adult, and I don't mean adult by sexy and rude, but just they're darker toned, because ultimately it's not aimed at our kids, it's aimed for us who watched it originally, and we've all got older and more mature, and I think it's wonderful balancing it.
And what we don't want to have every week, which is when we were kids, it was fine that Skeletor would go and cause some trouble or kidnap someone, or you know, try and steal something, and then Adam would save the day, or He-Man would save the day at the end of the episode. We kind of they haven't tried to recreate that, so it's very, very true to the original in terms of the style and the characters, but they've given us something more than just rehashing old storylines, which is what the old show used to do. Sorry, Adam, go on.
No. So I was just going to build on what Stephen said about. He said it's aimed at us as opposed to children and or kids of today, and I think probably is trying to appeal to both. I sat down to watch it with my youngest, who's 11. He just really didn't get on with it at all. So we just kind of gave up. But then I sat down with my eldest, who's like 15. He's really into anime and a lot of other stuff. And actually, I watched it all through with him, and he really enjoyed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to work on my kids, because neither of my kids will let me. They don't want to watch it, and I kind of would like to try and watch it with them if I can. But
Louis was like that. Louis was just like, I don't want to watch this dross, and that kind of put kibosh on it until I found a partner to watch it with.
I think it's really interesting. What they've done is everything they didn't do with the 3 recent Star Wars films. In other words, they haven't tried to recreate it for the kids. It is a continuation of where they was left off, and take into account that their original audience is now older. And I think it's a really good example of how you can bring back a franchise and extend its longevity, but what you don't do is try and recreate it. And I think they've done a really good job. Now, one thing to point out to our listeners, and we were discussing this before the show officially started, is you have to be very careful on Netflix, because there is more than one version of Masters of the Universe. There is a sort of badly 3D animated version.
And what's that called?
Totally different. It's called He-Man Masters of the Universe.
Because they've said, I was looking at Twitter, and Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2 drops in November. Now, is that the one that Simon's talking about, or is that the?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay, right. So we've got the season 2 dropping in.
Oh, that's
November.
really good news.
But if you just look up Masters of the Universe on Netflix, which is as opposed to the official Netflix Masters of the Universe, you will also see a totally different Master of the Universe.
Oh, that's tricky, isn't it? That's tricky.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement? Do we all
one.
like this? Are we all in agreement?
I actually liked it. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I actually enjoyed it. Once I wasn't convinced, and maybe I was being put off by Louis being not convinced, but actually watching it with George, I thought actually I did enjoy it.
I just got to the end of episode 1 and I was just like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I'm not going to say what happens, but I'm
going to try and watch it. Definitely
go and watch it, Hull. You'll like it.
No, I do. I enjoyed the first one originally, and I've just got to. I'd like to persuade the kids to do it, but at the same time, I'm not going to drag them along either, because I think that, like you say, that kind of tends to not help your enjoyment.
So yes, thank you for sharing that, Simon. Now, Adam, what do you want to bring to the discussion, to the cheese board of sci-fi?
Smorgasbord. Well, I was very excited. I found this out a couple of weeks ago, and I was having a bit of a difficult day. And I went onto Twitter and saw this news, and it genuinely cheered me up. I was like, that is brilliant news. So if you don't know, Russell T Davies is coming back to Doctor Who to be the showrunner for series 14. So this is amazing news as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of Doctor Who fans feel the same, that the Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat era, which was sort of like your Eccleston through to Smith, basically was between those two. And Russell T Davies was like the creative and the driving force for a lot of those really great individual stories and the overall story arcs that we had in those series. And I know it's difficult to say, because there's a lot of love for Jodie Foster's Jodie Whittaker's. I was going to say Jodie Whittaker's He-Man. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who.
Jodie Foster's He-Man.
Yeah, Jodie Foster. I'd watch that. Oh, we've got She-Ra. You have She-Ra. You can have whatever you want. Anyway, that's maybe films we subconsciously want to watch that don't exist. Anyway, there's a lot of love for Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, for good reason, and there's a bit of a sort of a bit of a rift between whether people want to go back to that or whether we should be building on where the current Doctor Who is. I personally haven't enjoyed the newer Doctor Who's as much, so and I really love the Russell T Davies era, so I'm really excited about this.
Me too. What Adam said, definitely. I think, yeah.
I think there's no doubt that for, at least for us, for Doctor Who to be really good, you need to have a great actor and great stories and someone great running it.
I feel really bad for Jodie Whittaker, because I think she's a brilliant actress or actor. She's just amazing. I mean, she's done some amazing stuff, and I think a lot of her, the lack of enjoyment from my point of view is story based and is script based. It's not from her performance at all. I think it's just she hasn't been given anything to work with. And if she'd have been in Matt Smith's shoes doing that as Matt Smith, not I didn't like Matt Smith, I thought he was brilliant, but she would have done an amazing job of it as well. That's
totally agree. And I think you could say the same thing about Peter Capaldi.
I think it's so true.
Actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to go back to when we had David Tennant and Matt Smith, they were both great actors and they had really good storylines and scripts written for them. And it hasn't been as good since then, as far as I'm concerned. I still watch it. I'm still enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next series, which starts shortly and may even have started by the time this episode goes out. But
oh no, the new, not the Russell T Davies one, but the
Russell T Davies one. No, there's trailers out for the new series already, so it may well be out.
I think they missed a trick with Peter Capaldi. I think they should have let him be Doctor Who, but essentially play it as his character from the thick of it, and have a Mardo Lucio do the script.
Kind of sweary Doctor Who.
Just going up to people, in effect, going, "What the F do you think you're doing?" and putting them in their place. And I think I would have watched.
I'm not sure a whole series of that, but I think I can imagine a sketch in that at least one episode might be interesting. I think
it'd be the best Doctor Who since Sylvester McCoy. That's what I think. So I have no real comments on this, because, as you know, for me, the issue isn't the script. The issue is the fact there's only half a person on the screen at any one time. They
might sort that out as well. You never know. They might sort that out.
I look forward to when BBC sell the rights or license it off to HBO, and we get the Americans make it, and it will be really
one of the things that people are excited about Russell T Davies is that he has said that he doesn't understand why Doctor Who doesn't have a cinematic universe like Marvel. So like, why isn't there spin-off series? Why isn't there kind of, you know,
They have made a couple of films, like the McGann film, wasn't there?
Yeah, the McGann, but that was back. Yeah, but still, that was funded by the Americans.
Yeah.
The BBC don't have the money. The BBC simply don't have the money.
But it was Russell T Davies has already tried this though, right?
Yeah, he's done Torchwood.
He did Torchwood, and he did. Is it the Adventures?
Sarah Jessica Parker. Sarah Jane Adventures.
So he has tried this spin-off, and it worked. It kind of worked. Torchwood was pretty good.
That's it really. I think I'm done. That's I've watched lots of other stuff, obviously, but that's all I want to talk about.
Oh, fair enough. All right then. I was good. There you go.
Just go now. I'm going.
Drop the mic.
When I do, well, because the next part of the podcast, I've talked about the musical, Back to the Future musical being something I really like with something I really dislike. I think that's going to be the theme of this podcast when we do the next bit of this.
Fair enough. Let's dive in. So, moving on to our next segment, we're going to talk, and this is, well, some people might say it's not so much sci-fi and it's more gaming culture, but we're going to talk about the movie which has taken the interweb by storm, which was a Free Guy, another vehicle for Ryan Reynolds, where Ryan Reynolds plays Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Guys, did you enjoy it? Adam, I think you're keen to jump in on this.
I'm keen to jump in. I think at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. There was lots to enjoy about this movie. I love a bit of video game culture stuff, right up my street. I enjoyed it. It was, for me, it was kind of very Lego Movie-esque. And Lego Movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not favorite animated or favorite children's movie. The Lego Movie is just up there for me, as I just love it. And it was very Lego Movie-esque, but in a good way and an enjoyable way. So that's my main takeaway is it was fun and enjoyable.
Simon, I think you told me that you really enjoyed it.
I did, yeah. Did we explain what it's about? Should I quickly cover that?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah.
So effectively, Ryan Reynolds is playing a guy called Guy he's in a computer game, and he sort of awakens and starts to become a bit more aware of what's going on around him. Suddenly works out that he's with some help, that he's a non-playing character in a computer game, and it sort of goes on from there as to sort of his experience of sort of waking up and realizing what's going on. There's some very funny scenes where he starts to play the game himself, and as he realizes that he can start to gather points, and he's living in a world which is, I guess it's a cross between Grand Theft Auto and Fortnite, and it's all that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's great. I mean, one of the things that I thought was quite interesting, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but there were elements of it that really reminded me of the Truman Show.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's essentially the Truman Show, isn't it? Really?
It is the Truman Show, and I don't think that they were. I don't think they were worried about showing the similarities either, because there was that whole scene. Well, a few scenes sort of towards the end when he's looking out to sea and he knows that there's this wall.
Oh, I thought that scene on the beach was just very a cool
very similar to the Truman Show. Yeah, I don't think that could have been by accident. There were those scenes of people watching all around the world in bars and in restaurants and in the homes.
I guess so. And,
you know, like, is he going to escape? Is he going to escape? That was exactly the same as the Truman Show.
Yeah. No, you're right. That was a good reference point.
But I did like there were lots of references to other TV shows and movies, and Adam, I think you'd mentioned the Marvel stuff when you when
Marvel.
you first.
I didn't realize it was Disney, so we get a nice Marvel Easter egg and a Star Wars Easter egg.
They can do whatever they want because they own it all. What I will say is I found it quite generic, and actually. Some of what you're calling out as reference points, I'm still not too sure if they were reference points or if it was extremely generic. So if you're a film director and you want to show a bit of drama, there are certain ways of showing it, and some of those are repeated not just in the Truman Show but in other films as well. And I felt it did everything right, but I'd seen all of it before.
Yeah. It was derivative. It's true. It was derivative.
It was
but it still was fun. It was still fun to
It was
watch.
good. I mean, I as you know, gents, I'm not a gamer, so from my point of view, that it didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It's like there wasn't really anything apart from, and I did know what an NPC was, but obviously it does get explained as well in the game, in the film. But yeah, there's a couple of terms, but it's like generally speaking, you don't need to really know to enjoy it. You kind of have an idea, but
you don't. But there were a couple of points that I don't know whether Stephen, whether you picked up on this, that made me quite enjoy it. Is that some of the scenes when he's in the city, just in the background, you just have characters doing things that you see in video games, like characters just jumping, trying to jump up a wall repeatedly.
Yes,
there's all that stuff going on. I thought that really kind of brought it to life for me. I thought it was quite funny.
No, that was cool. That was cool. And also going back to references, I mean, you could argue it was almost like Tron reversed. So in Tron, you've got people in the real world counting on the people in the digital world to do something to save the day. And actually, in the last phase of the film, you've got people in the digital world almost counting on people in the real world, i.e., the young man with his laptop, to do stuff to allow them to do whatever they're doing. But there was a very Tron vibe about it.
There was, I think for me, I was like, it had a lot of just a bit of Ready Player One because all the video game culture stuff. I thought it was like, but I think the whole idea that a character becomes aware that they're in a story or becomes aware of a reality outside their own. The Matrix is the obvious example where that's the main drive of the story. It's the same with the Lego Movie, and I think that is a well-worn device for storytelling.
I like Jodie Corner's performance in it though, because I think she's great anyway. Obviously, having enjoyed Killing Eve, and I think she's a solid actress. Actually, she's very. Thought it was a good character for her really to be doing that. So.
I told you the one thing of the film challenge was the culture of players inside the games. I.e., do you need to be going around killing all these NPCs?
Yeah, well, it was.
Should we care about these NPCs? Do they? And if we don't care about them now, should we care about them in the future as AI does get more and more developed? And I think that was actually an interesting thing. I know when I play games, obviously sometimes I just do whatever I want to do. But for example, in Red Dead Redemption 2, you can go down different paths, and I try to be fair, right? In the game, but for no reason, because you think about it, it's just a game. But I think that the game does ask some interesting questions of those of you who actually do play games regularly as to what should the etiquette be, and as AI gets better, should we start to care about how we treat these NPCs?
That reminds me of Austin Powers, because no one cares, no one thinks about the henchmen's families.
And now there were some other films which we thought as a group might be, when I say comparable, we knew they were different, but might be linked in some ways, even I'm not too sure they really were. There's a Guns Akimbo that's also out, which is about a video game developer who finds himself stuck in a sort of a live survival game, in effect. And then there's was it Boss Level,
which is on Amazon Prime, which is really good and has a kind of video game theme in it, but a kind of 8-bit kind of scrolling sort of retro theme. And it's not like this, but there is points in the movie where you think he is in a game, because it's actually like the whole thing of Boss Level is it's a bit it's Groundhog Day. It's a time loop. He's in a time loop. And he's got a time loop revenge flick movie, Boss Level. And it's really good, really fun, a lot of action. And it has a kind of video game theme that runs through it. It's really good. I did think at one point he's going to realize he's in a video game, because you've got all these characters. He gets to a bar. It's very violent. People trying to kill him. And it just has this very video game aesthetic. But as it turns out, he's not in a video game at all. And it's a bit more sci-fi why he's stuck in this time loop. It's not a kind of Groundhog Day, it's just there because it is, and he has to become a better person. there is a kind of a device and a.
So it's a deeper film. It's a deeper film. There's a proper, in its own reality, it is reality, and there's there's as you say, a sci-fi device. There's a reason why it's stuck in this situation.
Yeah, and he figures out it's great. It's a really good movie, but it's not. I think going into it, we thought, oh well, that maybe Free Guy will be the same, but it's quite different, but definitely worth watching.
Anyone else watch it, Simon?
Yeah, I watched it, and I completely agree with Adam. I was a bit disappointed though when I realised that he wasn't stuck in a video game.
Yeah, me too.
It was
you had to get over that to then enjoy the rest of the film.
Yes, yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It stars I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the Hydra guy in Captain America.
I thought I recognised him.
The lift.
Yeah, the lift guy.
That's him. And he's really, really good at it. And yeah, it's funny. It's a fun movie. Recommend it. It's a little bit. It's quite violent. Is it quite violent?
It's quite violent. Lots of heads, decapitation and bloods and stuff.
And even though they're not in a video game, we've clarified that though. Does it still pull video game references? So does it?
Oh yeah, there's
some of the same devices as Free Guy to use things that we would be able to relate to or laugh at or understand.
Not quite in the same way. There's just a part. I don't want to do spoilers, but there's a relationship he builds with his son, and his son's really into retro games. So there's this kind of connection with video gaming culture, but doesn't drive the narrative in the way that it does in Free Guy.
So that means we get to move on to our last and final segment. Something new.
This is the bit I wasn't looking forward to.
Yeah, well, you're not really selling it, Adam. So this is something new for everyone. We're going to play Guess the Sci-Fi theme tune, because music in sci-fi is really important. Whether it be a film or a TV show, often sci-fi shows have some of the best music going. We're going to
we're going to authentically recreate right here.
We have to sing or hum or whistle. We're going to have goes. We'll do 2 each, and we're going to see who can guess the most sci-fi theme tunes.
Oh, this is so exciting!
4 men in a wormhole.
I do worry whether we've reached our lowest ebb at this point of after doing this for nearly a year now. This is
I think it's. Shall I go first, as I'm the musician?
Are we just taking turns to guess, or are we going to try and?
No, you can put whoever puts their hand up first, I will call out their name. I will stop singing. I will call out their name, and then you'll say. And if you get it wrong, I'll just start singing again. So it'll be like a punishment for getting it wrong.
No, you're going to set the bar, Stephen. You're going to set.
Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Yeah.
Adam.
No, well, it sounded like the theme from Halo, but
it is.
Where's my?
Oh wow!
Adam, you know what? I'll do my second one, and so that way all the good of it is out of the way. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Tell.
Airwolf, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that sci-fi?
Yeah, that's sci-fi.
Yes. It was ahead of its time, the helicopter.
Yeah, and they didn't. Yeah, it was well ahead of its time, definitely.
Can I say 2 things about that? In my selection of songs, I also have Airwolf. It's fine. I've got some others, but I also thought I'd give Airwolf a go. The other thing is that at school, my youngest has just gone to secondary school doing music, and in that they said, I think there's a song by, I don't know, I'm going to get it wrong, Beyonce or Taylor Swift called Halo.
Yes.
I don't know who
Beyonce.
it's by. Is it Beyonce?
Yes, but it's not the same Halo.
No, so when in the music lesson they said, right, we're going to sing Halo, Louis was like, we're going to do all of that, and then was slightly disappointed that the song wasn't the theme tune from the video game.
Halo, tell, what are we going to say?
I'll go next, because I've got a horrible feeling that the more I listen and hear your song,
no, you can go next.
The more they're going to meld into one, and I'm going to end up humming all the other.
Go next, but just to screw you over, Adam, you didn't get Airwolf. Toll got Airwolf, so I want to hear your Airwolf. I want to hear your Airwolf.
Oh no! I don't know what it would sound like. I just know I've got it here that I would have done it. But
How? You don't know how it goes, clearly. Anyway,
to be fair, I thought, okay, this sounds really familiar, but I thought if I jump in again, I thought I'd give Tal and others a chance.
But Tal, you didn't really get it right. That's what Adam's saying. He didn't get it right.
All right, I'm gonna go. I've got one easy one, and I've got one that is much more esoteric that I think. I'll give you a hint. It's not a main theme.
Well, you've got to look at the screen, Tal. You can't look up when you're singing. Otherwise, you won't see your hands.
Don't close your eyes. No.
Okay, right.
He's doing that again.
I'm thinking. All right, okay. Simon?
Is that Quantum Leap?
Yes,
it is.
Well done. Right, now, hang on. Now, the annoying thing is my second one now sounds like Quantum Leap in my head.
Right. The next episode of Quantum Leap.
Right, okay, ready? It's
no idea what that
is. Simon's looking like he knows it.
No, like I do.
You should know it. But if anyone should get it, it should be Simon. And not Stephen.
Is it from Doctor Who? Is it Doctor Who? Yeah.
It is from Doctor Who. I'm not expecting you to know the name of it, although it does actually have a name.
I don't know the name of it, but I think it was used a lot in David Tennant era.
No, not David Tennant. Matt Smith.
Okay.
So all the Pandora.
That's a bit unfair.
It's a great theme though, and it does repeat right the way through a lot of his episodes. It's actually called "I Am the Doctor," but it's like a theme that kind of goes through. If you probably been watching him recently, and I noticed it. It's in quite a few of them. They kind of like
he's kind of running down a corridor, or when he's about to do something. When it
a bit esoteric. There you go.
No one got it.
The most important thing is I think I'm winning this.
No, you only got one. You don't get that one.
Why do I not get that one?
I think I'd give him Doctor Who.
I knew it was from Doctor Who. I didn't know the exact episode that it was in.
That is definitely enough.
All right, you get two. You're winning. Simon, you go next.
All right, fine. Mine are quite easy, but they're both good fun. Okay. You're probably going to like buzz in quite quickly on these. First one. Stephen?
Batman.
Yes. Right. The second one I'm going to whistle for. And
right. No one buzz in. Just let him do it.
Sometimes whistling is... Stephen?
I know what it is. Star Trek.
No.
Oh.
Right, you're gonna let me start whistling now.
Go on then.
The thing is, when you start whistling, sometimes it doesn't come out right. So do I need to like warm up or something?
Oh, come on, just do it.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, X-Files.
X-Files. Oh yeah. Come on, it was hands up. You weren't supposed.
Yeah, but I did the hands as well.
But you didn't wait to be asked.
Oh, do me a favour. I'm the host.
We'll give that to Stephen. We'll give that to Stephen.
So now it all comes down to Miss. Well, hold on. So at that point, Adam can't win now because he's only got one right.
Adam's got one right.
He should have two right, according to him. He should have two. He let Tal have it.
And then at the X-Files, I would have got if someone had gone to me to.
No, because my hand still went up first. So it's really between Simon and me now. It's exciting.
No, Tal can win this. If Tal gets both of them.
Oh yeah, he's still in it. He's behind, but he can come ahead. Tal,
right?
Focus.
Hang on, who's singing now?
Adam, which is why he's muted himself.
Oh, we've left Adam till last because
he's obviously playing the tune. He's playing the tune.
Highlight.
Yeah. He's playing the tune for himself, so he knows it.
I am. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah, we've been born ready.
So ready.
Do 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 do. I can't do it anymore. That's it. Do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. Stephen.
Planet of the Apes.
No.
Terminator.
No. I'll probably have to just hold on. I've just got to do the next bit.
Oh, hang on. I know it, I think. Oh God.
Is it The Running Man?
No. gone. It's gone.
It started off sounding like Star Trek Voyager, and then it went on to something else.
It's not Running Man. It's not the Running Man.
Shall I do some more?
Yes.
Yes. That's the same bit as before. That's not.
I know. I can't. This is torture for me.
Just keep going, Adam. Just keep going.
Is it from Marvel? Is it
What
from
about it's
Marvel?
torture for you? We're the one having to listen to it.
I know. Honestly, it's torture for you. It's torture for me.
Yes, it's the Marvel theme tune.
No, should I give it? It is the theme from Game of Thrones. Well, I was trying.
Oh, yeah. But I don't think that's sci-fi.
Well, that's what I went for. Well, anyway. Okay, next one.
Comes down to the last one.
I can't win now, can I?
No.
I can't. Okay, I hate this so much.
Come on.
Right, hold on. I'm just going to pause for a second. Hold on.
Look, we would do a painting quiz, but it would be rubbish for a podcast. Can you tell what it is yet?
Is he listening to it?
He's listening to it. That's why it's gone silent and he's muted himself. Because if he didn't mute himself, it would be really easy because we just hear it. He's back. Go on.
Do.
Oh, it's
Red Dwarf.
I said it.
I don't see the Simon or Toll.
I think Tal got that.
No, my hand was up first, surely.
No.
I think Tal got that. I think Tal got that.
I'd do a tiebreaker, but there's no way I'm singing another song.
No, you have to do a tiebreaker because we've all got 2 points. Yeah. So you have to sing one more.
No, I'm not. No,
you do. You have to do a tiebreaker.
You really do.
Oh no, you can't do it to me.
And it can't be Airwolf.
Oh no, who got that one then?
Well,
Tal.
Are you thinking
officially
of Tal?
Tal? We'll give it to Tal.
Yes.
All right, we'll give it to Tal. Okay. All right. Well, if you just pause a minute, and then I'll ready myself for the next one. I can't believe you made me do.
Oh, it's muted it.
You have to talk amongst.
Do you like a bonus round? I'll sing a bonus one whilst he does this for you two to guess. Okay.
But
bonus
it doesn't
round.
count. This doesn't.
Doesn't count.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, ready.
Dum da da dum da da dum dum da da dum 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 da da dum 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 bum ba da bum ba da bum ba 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 da ba ba da ba da ba da ba 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 do 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 ba da ba da.
Galactica.
Yay!
I did recognise it.
There you go.
I won then. There we go.
No, that one didn't count.
Didn't count.
Didn't count.
So whatever Adam sings.
Okay.
What you got?
Adam.
Here we go. Dun.
Oh, I know this.
Stephen.
Terminator.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank God. Can we stop now? Can we
Oh,
stop?
well.
No, we need to do a tiebreaker for me and Simon. See if
On that bombshell of a tune, this has been episode whatever it may be, 5, 4, 5, who knows? But it's been an episode, that's for sure, of 4 Men in a Wormhole. And we might do this again. You never know. It's 5. Adam's reminding me. It's episode 5 of 4 Men in a Wormhole, where we've discussed, dissected, and sung the contents of sci-fi.
Is
Adam,
that now Adam's feature, do we think?
Not my feature.
There we go. So Adam Leach, thank you for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure. If you want me to sing anytime, I'm your man.
Our mitzvahs, weddings is
Yeah,
available
the whole
for booking.
A new career opening up to me.
Tal, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, gents.
Nice to see you. And Mr. Cohen, as always, Simon Cohen, thank you for joining us.
See you guys.
And this is me, Stephen Gurvich, your ever boarding host, signing off from 4 Men in a Wormhole.
4 Men in a Wormhole!